I totally messed up the
And we're
sequence.
here. Welcome to episode 13 of the Off and Turn 1 podcast.
Fuck.
Your source for all motorsports. We're going to talk about Indy 500. We're going to talk about Formula One. We're going to talk about NASCAR, NASCRAP, NASFIA.
Non-athletic sports centered around rednecks.
I mean, the FIA. I mean, what? Anyways, so we got a lot to go through. I'm going to give you all my view of the Indianapolis 500 this past week. But really, my question of the week. Actually, we'll get to those. They're kind of they're both for NASCAR and for IndyCar. So we'll get to those a little later on. But I do know that we had a snooze fest of a DRS parade. I mean, there was probably chaos lap one.
World's fastest parade at Monaco.
Freaking Ferrari sweeping the podium. But without further ado, I'm gonna let I'm gonna let Scott talk about Formula because I didn't even get a chance to see a second of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to the self-proclaimed greatest spectacle in racing, aka a fucking parade.
I don't know why I woke up for that fucking race.
Yeah, I don't know why I woke up for the race either. The most exciting thing that happened in that race happened turn 1, lap 1, when Checo got absolutely demolished by a Haas car. I don't even care which one it was because both of them ended up in it, so you could say whichever one. It doesn't really matter.
This is after a penalty, too. They got penalized in the back of the field.
They get penalized to the back of the field and turn into bulldozers right into turn 1.
Yeah.
Gotta love Formula 1.
Came in like a wrecking ball. And then that
in
was
all
it.
seriousness, though, Checo's car was completely obliterated in this wreck. He made not only contact with a car, but I'm pretty sure he ricocheted off the walls not twice, but 3 times. And just absolutely destroyed this car. Honestly, the tank slapper that Max Verstappen took at Silverstone, back in 2017 or whenever that was when Lewis Hamilton forgot how to drive.
You mean he doesn't?
The chassis looked better after Max Verstappen's tank slapper than Checo's did after this wreck at Monaco at probably half the speed, if not even less. But thankfully he got checked out. He's okay. Don't really need to talk about qualifying all that much. We're just going to go down through the top 10 because, let's face it, they qualified, raced, and finished exactly where they qualified
it. Yeah, the top 10 was so exciting. There was so much racing going on.
Yeah, there was so much racing, they only used 2 tire compounds, thanks to the early red flag for the, hundreds of thousands of dollars of carbon fiber getting thrown all over the track.
And then the corner workers posing with the broken car.
I mean, if you had a $10 million,
yeah, it actually happened.
It happens all the time. I don't care if you work for NASCAR, IMSA, IndyCar, whatever. Somebody is sneaking a photo with a body panel somewhere at that racetrack. You can put all the rules in the rule book that you want. Somebody is going to be taking a picture with it. Anyway, we'll go down. Hometown boy Charles Leclerc comes home with the win. Fantastically managed race. All credit goes to him. I'm happy to see him win. This is the first time in 3 years minimum that we have had more than 2 different manufacturers end up in Victory Lane. Victory Lane, Victory Circle, whatever the hell they call it. We don't really care. It's Victory Lane in America. Deal with it.
The podium.
It's the podium.
In front of the presidential box. Because you get presented the trophy in the presidential box in Monaco. Because we all boozy over there.
following up in a fantastic P2, Oscar Piastri. I was sitting there with Joe watching this race, just waiting for him to fall apart. I really hate to say it, but Piastri's biggest detractor over the past couple of years since he's joined F1 has been his tire management. And this was a tire management race to a T, simply because of the red flag coming out. Everybody was able to swap to a new compound for the restart, and they had to manage their tires from lap 2 to lap 78. It was legitimately a very hard thing to do, especially in the tight, narrow streets of Monaco. But it did not make for a great race to watch on TV,
When was the
unfortunately.
last time Monaco was good?
Probably in the 60s or 70s.
Oh god, go back 50 or 60 years for a good race at Monaco.
Yeah, probably. Ever since they made these cars wider, they made it even harder for them to pass going along this narrow street circuit. So
There was a picture. Sorry, Scott, but there was a picture that I saw on Facebook today that compared the wheelbase length of a Formula One car to a Chevy Suburban. They were equally matched. That is disgusting if those cars are that long.
they are incredibly long and they are incredibly wide. They tried to do it to slow the cars down for whatever reason,
But they don't slow
and well, they did. They lost about 2.5 to 3 seconds per lap. And with Monaco specifically, I want to say they were lapping in like the 107s, 108s in race trim not even about a decade ago, versus they were struggling to hit 113s in the race this year. So they have succeeded in slowing the cars down for sure. But going on back down the line, your top 10 are going to be Leclerc, Piastri, Sainz, Norris, Russell, Verstappen, Hamilton, Tsunoda, Albon, and Gasly.
Verstappen finished outside the top 5?
They did not have a handle of this racetrack from the get-go.
Have they always struggled at Monaco? Or is this just a one-off thing?
I think it has a lot to do with Adrian Newey taking a massive step back. He is leaving the sport at the end of the year. And to me, the second that announcement was made was when we started to see Red Bull start to struggle with a lot of aspects of the car. So I don't think he's stepped back at the end of the year. I think he's just riding out his contract to the end of the year and just letting them flounder to see if whether there's some sort of political motivation to remove, I believe it's Helmut Marko that had all of the crap going on with him.
Right.
Essentially, I'm pretty sure he stepped back entirely and very well could have made this car fantastic for this track at this time, but he's exercising his political power and saying, yeah, you don't have your car designer that basically pioneered a lot of the things that go into this car. We're going to see what you do, and either you're going to pay me more money or kick the people out that I don't want there so that I can come back and you can have a winning team. But if they're only falling back to 5th or 6th on the grid, I don't really see that being much of a motivator.
Yeah, sure.
But that's all just speculation from me.
I mean, you could almost say,
I'm a stupid American. What do I know about F1? Let's be honest.
Right. I mean, I will say, with Monaco being as narrow as it is, it's almost kind of like their Darlington. I hate to use an oval expression, but that's the only thing I could think of. Like, by far and away, when NASCAR goes to Darlington, it's the narrowest like racing surface on the grid, and it seems like Monaco gives that same type of vibe.
Yeah, it very much is. You'll be very hard pressed to find a set of rims in the garage after a race with any of the teams that doesn't have at least a little scuff mark on it from the Amco or Armco.
Yeah.
Especially
Well,
with them widening the track of these cars and making it even harder to pass on a track that was already nearly impossible to pass on. So when I say there was no passing within the top 10, there was literally no passing.
yeah, I saw the grid of everybody, and they said first started first, finished first, second, all the way. Excuse me, all the way through the points. So
Yeah, the only passing was in the back of the field after the wreck.
yeah,
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 the
pretty
back of
much.
the field
Yeah,
was actually pretty interesting to watch at
yeah,
times, but it seemed like it came in waves. Like, oh, all these people are opening up for pit stops, this, that, and the other. It's like, well, yeah, because the leaders are 20 seconds away from them. They don't have any choice but to go on the softer compound tires to see if they can even catch these guys. But
right. But they're not going to because it's
the
Monaco.
track is slick, the track is hot, the cars are wide, the DRS doesn't do anything because the main straight is too short to get these heavy lard ass cars up to any sort of acceleration to where you could pass each other down the straightaways. So it does absolutely nothing.
Narrow
But
up your cars, Formula One.
yeah, narrow them up, bring the V10s back, through your noise ordinances. We want loud, obnoxious cars going around the track at Mach Jesus.
Just bring back the turbo
Well,
arrow. We'll be good with that too.
let's go ahead and get the NASCAR crap out of the way, and then we'll talk about the Indianapolis 500 because I'm going from most boring to most controversial to most exciting. Yeah. Anyways, so we'll talk about the 600 a little bit, but I just want to hit up on this NASCAR news. HSR finally, or SHR finally confirms that they are also closing it. 4 out of their 6 drivers are rumored for rides for 5 and beyond. As far as the charters, Furniture Row is rumored to buy one. Evans rumored to buy one. Trackhouse might buy 2 of them. Kind of have to see where that goes. Kind of what we're looking at. Unknown buyers for their cup charters, but pretty much we kind of know where that's going to go. Briscoe's heavily rumored to go to the 21 next year. Going to drive for Penske, Wood Brothers. So that's going to be interesting. SHR from 09 to 2024. That's when they started, but we could really talk about Haas CNC racing from 02, end of 02 to 2024, being in the Cup Series. Two Cup titles, 2011 with Tony Stewart, 2014 with Kevin Harvick. They've won the Daytona 500 once with Kurt Busch. Yes, that Kurt Busch. Back in 2017. So kind of a sad ending for them. It's really not surprising that they're pulling all the way out. Gene Haas and Tony Stewart have been kind of hands-off owners last few years. You could tell when Tony was kind of riding everybody, they were running good, and then really since 2020, he just hasn't really been around the operation much. So it kind of shows. I kind of thought they were going to go maybe decrease a charter or two, but to see them fully close down, it's not surprising. Let's go ahead, Joe.
Tony Stewart knows when there's a dying sport.
Well, and I mean, and honestly, I've seen it all over social media this week, and I've had my own thoughts on it. But you could definitely see that he saw the writing on the wall for sure. What do you think, Scott?
It's really sad to see because love him or hate him behind the wheel, Tony Stewart has been, at least when I was growing up, the only person that I could liken him to today would be Denny Hamlin. He's outspoken off the track and on it. Is he hypocritical? Is he hypocritical with the way he drives versus what he expects out of others? Yes, but when it comes to looking at the sport from an insider standpoint, he has some very nuanced takes. And to see him back out of the sport, whether it was a decision led by Gene Haas or someone else is a terrifying prospect for me, because even with as many bad decisions as NASCAR has made over the past 2 decades, I still love the sport. I love the community that comes around to it, and there's nothing like the average race day for a NASCAR race. And that is excluding the Indy 500 and a lot of those things. Not every day has to be a spectacle, but going to a NASCAR race just has a vibe to it that is absolutely incredible. And I want to see that protected for future generations. To see Tony Stewart of all people pulling out, it's terrifying to me, to be
Yeah.
completely.
Well,
It's
and
it's
Dale
not
Jr. is. Go ahead.
it's not terrifying to me because I've been saying this for years, even before I knew you two guys, that NASCAR was a dying sport, and if they're one of their biggest stars is saying, yeah, I'm kind of out of here because I don't like the direction that the sport is going, yeah, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
And
And I think mostly the business model and the charter system kind of kill things off, at least for the Cup Series. They've made it turn. They've kind of turned the Cup Series into this, Formula One kind of deal. Like only the elite of the elite can get into the sport, and if you want to get in, you have to minimum pay $20 or $30 million, and then on top of that, you got to buy the cars, you got to buy the equipment, you got to buy the people. I know that
it's
sounds like slavery, but you get what I'm saying. Like you got to get all this stuff, and before you know it, you're spending hundreds of millions of dollars before you even get to the Daytona 500 as a charter team. Like
pay to
that's not
pay.
how it should be. You should be able to just sit here, build your own car, build your own team, and then show up. Like NASCAR has got to get back to those. I don't think they're going to, and that's why I've said here. Wouldn't shock me within the next 10 years if NASCAR merges in with the Cars Tour or becomes an IMSA series, something of that nature, where there's little to no oval racing, and
No,
they just say
so
NASCAR is a division of IMSA.
do you want to know a scary stat that I looked up a while ago?
Let's hear it.
Which race at Daytona this year so far, right, drew the most fans? The 24 Hours of Daytona or the Daytona 500?
Probably
The Daytona 24, no
Yeah.
question.
The 24 drew 30,000 more fans. They don't open the grandstand for that usually for for assigned seating, but they did this year. All right, you could buy an assigned seat for the 24. Yeah, it's I don't know what kind of funky AI they're using in the when they have the TV cameras on the fans, but you can clearly see that they are not selling out every single place. And how many tracks so far have removed pieces of their grandstands to make it look like they're fuller?
Every
Dozens.
except in Indianapolis.
I mean, even though it's off the schedule now, look at what Kentucky had to do.
Yeah.
And this is coming from somebody that worked on the fire and safety team, and I will say this: my opinions are my own. I no longer currently work for the Kentucky Speedway Fire and Safety Team, or SMI, as I was contracted through. The day they started ripping out those stands, like we had the blue steel with our tower and everything in it. We had just this big concrete bowl essentially going down the front stretch from the exit of turn 4 all the way to the entry to turn 1, and it cut our seating, from what I could guess, almost about in half. And toward the end of its life, we were not filling those stands for the cup dates or anything. The like, you even look at Daytona, they used to have the Earnhardt stands, the Earnhardt
backstretch.
senior stands going down the backstretch. Those are no longer there. That's all camper parking. The Daytona 500 used to be the biggest frickin' draw out there. If they're having to remove stands from Daytona, of all places, they're going down the wrong track. The Daytona and Talladega.
Yep.
It's something needs to change, and it needs to change radically. I don't care if it's the car design, the way things are made.
I don't know if I could say it's really. I mean, the car design hasn't helped. I mean, I think it's just the charter system and just everything being all about. You know, they were fixing stuff that wasn't broke. Gen 6 wasn't broke. The COT toward the end of its life wasn't broke. The Gen 4 wasn't broke. All they needed to do was just make the roof a little taller in the Gen 4 car, and boom, safer car. And you could still be racing that car today. Like, and I
And
know the Gen 4 car wasn't perfect. They talk about the aerodynamics being more sensitive than Le Mans prototypes, but I mean, like that car put on good racing. There's a reason why iRacing's putting that car in the sim for us.
right.
Like,
And
because people don't want to drive the next gen car. It sucks.
Gary and Joe, I know you and I have talked a lot about the car design, the kind of racing that's going to come up with it. We can't deny that the finishes that we've seen in the Cup Series and the Xfinity Series so far this year have been absolutely incredible. We've had, 3 races now settled by differences of less than a tenth of a second?
I mean, you've had
And
Atlanta and Kansas in Cup. You
yeah,
had Texas in Indy Series. Really good finish.
in does it make the end of the race exciting? Yes. But there is a phrase or a quote from a movie that I can't help but think of every time I look at the way NASCAR is going with their car design and what they expect at the end of every race, because that's been their goal. They want less than a tenth of a second between the leaders at the end of every single racetrack. And of all the quotes that I think of, it's from the first Incredibles movie. When everyone's special, nobody will be. You're gonna have to have some races where somebody is out there just blowing people's doors off because they found something that day. Their driver had cocaine in their Wheaties or something along those lines.
Right.
that it's like, okay, yeah, it wasn't a barn burner of a race, it was a race, but oh well, those things will happen. If we start seeing these finishes of less than a tenth of a second every single week, that's going to become the expectation. And when it doesn't happen, all the fans that have come to expect that are going to leave. They're no longer going to support the sport or anything that goes on with NASCAR because they're not meeting that expectation.
Right.
You've got to have a longer attention span than the 0.2 of a second that it takes for the cars to cross the line at the end of the race.
Well,
And that's not who they're catering to right now as a sport, and it seems like it is causing a lot of turmoil.
Well, I like what Kyle Busch said about the stage racing. Stupid because there's no strategy anymore. He's right. I mean, you think about it. You split the first stage, split the second stage, and either you split the third stage or you split it into thirds. There's no strategy in that. There's no outsmarting your opponent in that. Like,
And you think
if
as
you want to
someone
have
that
stage racing, but don't throw the yellow. Keep it going. And if that means we have a caution-free race, we have a caution-free race. Who cares?
right, and think of all the finishes that have been brought out by fuel strategy and long-term thinking that have been absolutely insane.
Go 7
It
Coke 600. Go 6 Kansas Fall Race. Those days, I hate to say it, even the 2011 Brickyard when when Paul Menard won. I hate to say it, but those days, ancient history basically now. I mean nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, you're sitting there watching this guy who's in a third-rate car, who's expected for the majority of his career, no offense to him now, but in the top level of NASCAR, he's been a third-rate driver for the most of his career. He gets lucky. You're sitting there. Jeff Gordon is absolutely pounding the piss out of his car, trying to run Menard down, who is just trying to eke every ounce of fuel out of that car that he can just to make it to the end over the last 10 laps. And you're seeing the gap shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink. That builds more anticipation for the finish in my mind than seeing guys go 3 and 4 wide every single week. That
Is
was
it
a
cool to
spectacle
see?
nobody expected to see that day. And it made it that much more special when Paul Menard was standing in victory lane at the end of the day.
I mean, is it cool to see those side by side finishes every once in a while? Absolutely. It is. It's cool. Like seeing that Kansas finish this year, phenomenal. It's great. Cool. 3 wide at the line, Atlanta. That cool finish. I will give NASCAR that. They are producing great finishes. But the racing, if all we're talking about is aero blocking and, a finish, that doesn't sit well, I think, with I mean, the fans that don't give a crap are the ones that are like, "Oh yeah, look at this 1/1000th of a second photo finish."
If the entire highlights of your race can be summed up in the length of the average TikTok, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, and we'll talk about IndyCar here in a minute and how I think they're prominence to an extent. Maybe not really. I don't know, but yeah, it's just really sad to see, and again to see SHR pull. I'm not surprised. Um, and it was funny. I was listening to Dale Jr. this week. He said he hopes he sees Tony stick around, but the fact that he's pulling out of the sport should really say something, and it should be a wake up call, and it should be. I mean,
Joe,
all this
Gary, and I have been
political stuff. I mean, we could we talked about it. We'll keep talking about it, but it's just like if that ain't a wake up call with a motorsports icon like Tony Stewart leaving the business, I don't know what is.
Any of your thoughts, Joe? Gary and I have been going back and forth here for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Fuck NASCAR. More IndyCar.
All right. Yeah, that's my guy. There we go.
I was falling asleep.
Um,
We're gonna call it NAPCAR from now on.
Right. One more thing. AM Racing has parted ways with their crew chief Joe Williams for the 15 car.
Bullshit.
They fired the wrong guy
They fired the wrong person.
or gal.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah, I was going to say
bullshit.
they should have fired the person in the car over
Uh,
the.
Competition director Matt Lucas will interim crew chief to find a replacement. This is non-news to me. They fired the wrong. Haley Deegan, girl, you need to go do rally racing or something or sports cars because these heavy stock cars ain't you. It ain't it. Go drive an Indy car. Do something else.
She just needs to go.
Go join F1 Academy and see if you can keep up with Leah Block.
Mm.
I don't think you would, but I'd at least like to see you try.
Right. Question number 1 of the week. Who do you think will buy the HSR? Sorry, SHR.
SHR.
I've been hanging out around Hutchport Racing. I even wrote it incorrectly on my notes.
No, we had charters.
Right. So who's gonna buy? Who do you think is gonna buy the SHR charters, and where will their drivers land? Let's take a look. I've got it laid out here for the drivers that are free agents at the end of the year and their crew chiefs. Got this. So for Xfinity, you got Cole Custer and Riley Herbst. For Cup, you've got Josh Berry, Briscoe, Noah Gregson, Ryan Preece. Honestly, out of these 4, looking at their Cup roster, I think Gregson's going to get a ride somewhere. I think Briscoe will get a ride somewhere, and I think Josh Berry will get.
Those
Preece to
three
me. Go ahead.
they're too good to let them walk. They're way
Right.
too good. They've proven that they can be up front, even in the top 15, repeatedly every single week. you can't let talent like that walk, no matter what team you're on. They
Right.
should be getting phone calls off the hook right
Yeah.
about now.
Priest, I think he's more of an Xfinity or Truck Series driver. I know he loves his modifieds. Maybe he goes back to the modified ranks, but I just don't think he's Cup material. He's been trying to get into the Cup Series since 2018 and run well, but I think the time is ticking for Mr. Priest. As much as I like ranks.
Gagson's gonna end up at RCR.
I've heard RCR is looking at buying another charter. I've also heard Austin Dillon retiring and Gregson going to the 3-car or whatever they renumber it to. Heard a few things. So kind of curious to see where that'll all end up. Personally, I think if they get a third charter, I think it would go to Austin Hill before it would go to Noah Gragson. That's just my humble opinion. But
I would love the only reason I would love to see Austin Hill in the Cup Series is when he throws a tantrum like he did at this week's race. I just want to see the dude get his ass kicked. I don't get me wrong, I loved racing with the dude on iRacing. I did it for about a year or so with him.
Austin Hill's country strong. I don't think anybody
And
would be able to take him, except maybe
it,
Ricky
but
Stenhouse in Cup.
but you move him up to the Cup level, it's
Yeah.
not just going to be a slap on the wrist for intentionally taking someone out. He's going to face real repercussions, and he's not going to have to worry about the Cup drivers themselves coming at him. He's going to have the former NFL guys on the pit crews coming after him.
Ask Ricky
Those guys,
Stenhouse about that.
oof,
Just saying.
just
Throwing that
yeah.
out there.
If you want to pick a fight in the Cup Series garage, you better come out swinging. Otherwise, you're gonna get hit by a retired D linesman from whatever major college that's gonna absolutely fucking destroy you.
Yeah. So honestly, I think to answer the question from earlier of who's going to buy the charters, I wouldn't be surprised if it's 2311 in Trackhouse and probably front row. That's my guesses. Go ahead, Joe.
Outside the box.
Outside the box,
Work over here.
Dale Jr. What you got?
Michael.
Michael Andretti?
Andretti?
You know, honestly, like
Marco Andretti has been dabbing his feet into into NASCAR. All right. Do not be surprised if Andretti Global says, "Hey, Tony, I want 2 of those charters." NASCAR would instantaneously approve it. And 2 reasons. Number 1, you got Andretti back into NASCAR. Number 2, it goes and sits there and be like, "Oh, well, all right. Well, the number 2 the number 2 racing series on the planet just accepted our team and F1 didn't." So that it ends up kind of putting a thorn in Formula One's side. Hey, we just got accepted into NASCAR. All we had to do was buy a charter. All right, we're sitting there trying to buy our team into freaking Formula One, and no. So think about it. You know how I always like thinking outside the box, and you know the people that I like to mingle with, and don't be surprised if you see Michael Andretti buying a charter or 2.
wouldn't be surprised if he is in the news for it at least. But I think Front Row's already basically confirmed that they bought a charter, so gotta be from Stuart Haas. Has to be.
Okay, give the other one to Spire.
Yeah, and I think it's either good, and that other one's either going to go to Spire or it's going to go to Trackhouse. Trackhouse has too many drivers and not enough charters to go around.
They run 3 cars throughout the season. One of those cars is a one offer for whoever wants to come over to race. So you really don't need a charter for that.
Well, you got SVG and Shane Smith there. That's unless that merger from Colleague and Trackhouse happens.
It's a thing.
It was a thing. Chris Rice shut it down, but So it could be a thing.
Well, it's like Honda. We all know Honda's going to NASCAR, but
Right. So, and it would be a Honda team that Andretti Global would field in that. There. I said it. I said it out loud. It's gonna happen. And it'll be a hybrid engine because NASCAR can't do the pushrod stuff anymore.
oh, we gotta
It's
be
a lot of-
political correct in our racing series. We need to go hybrid.
No, we don't want to race V8s. It's got to be a V6 if it's a Honda.
My name is
But
Michael
anyway,
Andretti, and I like
if-
pizza.
So that's one question of the week knocked out. So that's good. Joe, let's do an Indy 500 review. Scott, of course, you could partake in this as well because you probably watched the race with Joe. That's what I'm assuming, anyways.
I did. I should have been watching it with you in turn 2, but things didn't work out, and Mr.
Happened.
Krim got to take the place in my stead.
That
It
is
sounds like
true.
you guys had a really good time up until the end of the race, and you were trying to get the hell out of there.
Did we mention that on the podcast? I don't know. I go back and forth on that.
Hey,
Nobody watches
hey, Mr.
bigger
Penske,
platform.
your traffic control is ass.
Really
Okay,
not-
I
don't
said
think
it.
it's really, I don't think it's really on him at this point. It's on the Indy.
I
We'll talk about that. Fuck it. We'll talk about it.
Speaking
We'll
of
do it
Tony
live.
Stewart, was he in Indianapolis? Oh wait, I can't make that
Oh.
joke.
He was probably at a dragger strip with his wife.
wow.
Anyways,
Rambler was there.
Anyways, what we've got going
Wow.
on? Let's talk about the Indy 500. Lap 1, turn 1 chaos. So it was kind of funny. We were in the short shoot between 1 and 2, and I saw the wreck before everybody else in our section because everybody was focused on turn 2, and I'm over here sitting here pointing like this. Look at this, and everybody's like, "Whoa, what the fuck?" And then they just poking it. Marcus Ericsson dying in turn 1, lap 1.
That is the biggest haha and karma pineapple you could possibly have because that man left a guaranteed winning ride, all right, to go to a team that hasn't been able to prove themselves at the Speedway since Rossi won the fucking event. All right.
Damn near a decade.
Mm-hmm. All right. He wanted a paid ride. There's your karma pineapple. I'm sorry, but sucks to be you, buddy. You sit there and go through all that bullshit in qualifying and then end up eating the fucking wall. Yeah.
And you know what's funny? The way
Insert Parma
back on Sunday was the exact same thing that Ericsson did in practice that Wednesday or Thursday before, week before last. Did the exact same thing. It looked like he hit the concrete curb. Boom. Car was gone. Over with. Literally a rookie mistake because Bloom. But
and now he's kicked out of the car. Elio's in the car for the next 2 races.
I heard he's in the Le Mans race. So I don't know how much of that is, him going to Le Mans or how much of it is because he hasn't been.
There's more to it. I'm not going to talk about it on camera.
Okay, I figured you probably.
I mean, he's probably a fan of French wine anyway, so I don't think it's any sweat off of his back.
Toss salad. Speaking of toss salad, Romain Grosjean didn't wreck this year. Freaking Indianapolis.
Hey,
Actually,
He's on fire.
so I got a funny one. So one of my picks, all right, you know how I do my annual, all right, here's my picks, and then here's my funny shit, which you guys didn't end up in the creek, but you did end up wet.
on more than one occasion.
I went and I said Stingray Rob being prayed into a middle of the field finish, and that's where he finished.
But he he did lead laps under
Oh,
green,
hold on,
which I
hold
don't
on.
think anybody expected.
Connor Daly goes and says, he's like, wait, how the fuck did he get in front of me? And oh my god, he's in front of me! He was giving him so much shit on fucking Speed Street. It was great.
I will say, I do want to tip my cap to Stingray Rob and for Daly. I mean, those guys were competitive all month long, and it was kind of surprising to see Stingray Rob as leading. But I mean, he had a solid race. I can't say that his pace was bad. It's just I think
Uh,
AJ Foyt Racing's strategy at the end of the race kind of screwed themselves a little bit.
So, a couple of the drivers went and said some stuff about Stingray Rob. They say, yeah, okay, great. He was out front and he was actually leading and he looked good. But there were some things that he was doing while he was up front that was screwing over the field, and that's why they decided to start eating him up really quick. Like, they let him ride there for a little while because they're like, okay, cool, we can sit here and draft behind him. But he was doing stupid shit, and they're like, nope, we can't do this no more. We have to get around him before he goes and wrecks everybody. That's what happened.
Yeah, and it looked like there were a few times where, especially when he was fighting to get his lap back. I do recall later on in the race where, I know he didn't necessarily move anybody out of the way. He didn't. I think it was when he was trying to pass McLaughlin, that it got a little hairy there a couple of times. I mean, and there were some things that he was doing that I was like, okay, all right. There's a reason why you're up there. It's obvious. You're doing something. And Connor Daly too. I mean, for him being a one-off and locking himself in first day of qualifying, leading some laps as well in the Indy 500,
and finishing with a broken car.
Yeah, with a
and not destroying it. Yeah, him and Ryan Hunter-Ray were had broken rear shocks.
And we're still Ryan Hunter-Ray deal, but we'll get to that a little later on. You knew it was going to come up. You can't be mad. You knew it was going to come up.
I am turning as red as my fucking shirt.
Way to go, a-hole!
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it.
Fuck!
So there were, 4 or 5 cautions with the first 50 laps of that race?
It was a iRacing shit show.
It really was an iRacing race. And I even said that same freaking thing after they wrecked in third one. I was like, oh, hey, look, an iRacing race.
Erickson, Armstrong blew up an engine. Catherine Legg blew up. Let's see, who else? What else did we have? Colton Herta fucking smacked the wall. Hey, it was just.
And that's the whole thing about
it was
Herta.
painful.
He got out of that car way too quick. I mean, we'll talk about Herta in a second, but he got out of that car way too fast. I don't know if he was being told to get out of the car or what, but if all they had to do was place a nose cone, they should have fired him back up.
I almost wonder if the angle that he came back at the wall put so much shock load through him and the chassis, because he hit perfectly nose cone to the wall.
He did.
And I don't know if he just kind of lost where he was in the process of the spin, because let's face it, he's spinning at 220 miles an hour. And when you feel any contact with a car that's basically made of glass, you expect everything to be broken. And even with the slowed down impact that he had, I'm sure he was expecting, okay, the thing's fucked. I'm just going to jump in the AMR truck. I don't even think he looked at the front of the car as he got out. He was just like,
I don't think, if I went back and looked at that replay, I don't think he did. Because if I remember at the race, I don't think he really looked at he looked at the front of his car, but I don't think he was examining it with the crew hat on. You know what I mean? Like, I think he just kind of assumed that the car was done for. He saw the broken nose cone and was like, okay, we'll go about it next year.
Well, they had him scored off the track. He only completed. He completed 170 laps. So
He came back out and was 16 laps down for the longest time. So I don't know if he ended up finishing or if they ended up just parking it because they weren't going to gain anything. Which, by the way, really happy with the finish of that race. And it's not because this guy won. Okay. I just want to say that it is because the last like 40 or 50 laps of that race went green and we didn't have a late race caution. And we got to see, personally, in my opinion, one of the greater like last runs at Indy in a long time.
The
Got to see the
last
race naturally play out and just seeing guys just go at it and battle, I thought was really incredible.
Yeah,
2006 is the last one.
30 everything from the last 30 laps in that race, it was just frenetic. Guys were trading the lead, and not to mention a last lap pass to polish everything off. Both of the leaders are up on their weight jacker, just absolutely hanging the ass end of the car out, trying to get as much as they can out of that car in dirty air. It was a special thing to watch. You truly got to see how on edge those cars are when they're being driven in anger with something this special on the line. That
Well, and I really thought when
regardless of who
Newgarden,
won, it was a fantastic thing to watch.
I mean, when I saw Newgarden sell that thing in the three, I was like, he's going to hit the fence. He's done. He's wrecking that. And then he didn't wreck it. I was just like, oh, okay. This is literally my reaction. I was like, oh, hey.
Had that track
Okay.
been 10 degrees warmer, he would have wrecked.
That's what I'm
Don't. You can't even deny it.
No. That's why I'm not denying it. It's just I think if that race would have taken place on time that day instead of 4-hour rain delay, which I think,
I'm still gonna be with Scott going, this is bullshit. Although I do have questions though for Mr. Penske and Mr. Newgarden.
push past they have.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Where's that little button? That little boost button, there, buddy.
Turning up the turbo. But
I'm being completely funny, by the way.
I-
Some people on the Elite IndyCar and IndyCar Facebook groups or Facebook pages do not know what a joke is anymore. Learn comedy, you fucks.
Joe and I have been labeled by morons by somebody that has a privated Facebook page. It's an absolute travesty.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That was fucking great. I actually posted the definition of a moron, and then it got removed.
Oh, nice. Beautiful.
Yeah, it was a thing of beauty.
Yeah.
Anyways,
So, but yeah, I really thought that the end of that race was really good. Probably, like you said, Joe, I think probably the best finish, honestly.
06 is the last one that I can think of where it was actually really decent, and then before that, 92.
92.
Oh, what was the
You're
year
talking
that the
about last
National Guard got blue balled in both races?
2011.
That was 11? Okay.
Yeah.
We don't talk about 2011.
Yeah, we don't
Yeah.
talk about 20.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Joe, do you have that image ready for the Indy 500 productivity score?
No.
Okay, so I'm gonna run this by the listener. We're gonna picture ahead. If you guys look at the images in post chat, Scott, Joe, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. So there was a guy that created something that he calls the career productivity score for the Indy 500, and he only does this for the Indy 500. And he assigns a certain point system as follows. So race start is 5 points. 100 points for a win, 20 points for starting on the pole, 5 points for a pole, or for starting on the front row but not on pole. Finishing second through fifth is 20 points. Finishing sixth through 10th is 10 points. Each lap led is a half a point. Each 25 laps completed is a point. And starting race as previous one-time winner is 5 points. And then starting race as a previous multi-time winner, 10 points. The second image that was shown is basically looks like a spreadsheet of said results. So here's your front row. Like if we had a field of 33 best drivers ever at Indianapolis, I'm going to run over to this field of 33 with you, and we'll talk about the front row because it's a pretty solid front row. AJ Foyt
I got it up over my head right now.
got up over your head, sweet.
Yeah.
AJ Foyt, 35 starts, 4 wins, 1,631 points. Allenster Jr., 27 starts and 4 wins. Elio Castroneves with 24 starts and 4 wins. Rick Mears, not in the front row of that. What's y'all's thoughts on that?
Rick Ravon would be very upset. I mean, he has a point guideline. I agree with it, and if Rick Mears didn't make it to the front row, then Rick Mears didn't make it to the front row. I mean, look at the number of starts that the front row has. They have nearly double the starts that Rick Mears does. Now, if it takes into account the win versus start statistics as opposed to number of starts, then I think Rick Mears would definitely be in the top. But as the guideline states, row 2's not bad.
No, and you got Rick Mears there. You got Scott Dixon and Mario Andretti. That's your second row. I mean, you guys look at this all the way through. Wilbur Shaw's in here, and he was the first, I think, multi-time winner of the 500, I believe. Louis Myers in there. Arie Luyendyk. I like how they included some guys that maybe not have won a race at Indianapolis. I mean, look at Ed Carpenter. Still really solid. Look at Juan Pablo. 7 starts, 2 wins. Hell, I think Michael Andretti is on this list. 16 starts, no wins. But, I mean, look at all the damn laps he's led to even get him to inside of the 8th row there. 16 starts, all those laps led. I don't know if he has any poles at Indianapolis or anything like that, but I mean, he definitely has the most laps led of all time that hasn't been a winner. So
we got Joe's favorite driver starting 15th. How do you feel about that?
Which one? Hold on.
Row 5 outside.
No, fuck you.
Emerson.
Get fucked. They can't see it on camera. Oh wait. Now they can. Now they can.
So
fuck your orange juice, Emerson.
Buddy Lazier's on here. I mean, Takuma is even on here. I figured that was probably going to be an array. So yeah, I just wanted to show that graphic. That's really cool. So, but that's really all I had on that. Joe, let's talk about Scott Dixon and Ryan Hunter-Reay. What the hell was that?
Hold
Got
on.
nothing? Oh, there's sound.
I'm trying to change the color of my head to match the color of my shirt.
Hang on, I think I got this.
Because I'm going to tell you something right now.
Way to go,
There are
a-hole!
Ryan Hunter-Reay did the about dumbest fucking thing you could have possibly done. Dixon was not trying to defend. He was holding the low line, trying to stay away from the car that was on the outside. All right?
It was willpower at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There actually was plenty of room for Ryan Hunter-Reay to shoot a gap, but there's a problem. There was another car involved. Ryan Hunter-Reay wasn't paying attention. He had these fucking blinders on and decided, oh, I'm going to drive in the fucking grass. Alright, they made contact, Hunter-Reay's in the grass, he goes and spins, game over, everybody wants to sit there and pin Scott Dixon as a fucking villain. Alright, two things.
Would it maybe Hinch that probably did that?
I want to say that there have been quite a few drivers that have hit the grass on the backstretch trying to do something similar, and it doesn't
pretty
work.
much similar.
Not
result,
everybody
yeah.
is Tony Kanaan, okay?
At least
Anyways,
at that point in the straightaway, I mean, really, and I kind of looked at the same deal. It was like that was a very
well,
questionable 900 race.
it was. And you know what? I'm not trying to defend anybody, but there is a thing called racing incidents.
Yeah, no, and,
What
and
a
that totally
fucking
was.
concept!
Right, but I will say I am gonna put it on Hunter Ray a little bit because like you've been racing in this race forever. You should know that like if there are two guys racing side by side, doesn't mean you always gotta stick your nose in there all the time. And it's way too early for you to be sticking your nose in there. We still
It
have 50 or 60 laps to go at that point.
it looked like a blocking move because of what Dixon was already doing ahead of time. If you watch the lines and you sit there and follow along with onboard cameras and crap. It wasn't trying to get ready for the corner. If he was trying to get ready for the fucking corner, he wouldn't be riding the fucking the grass line. He'd be trying to move up a little bit higher and pinching Will off into the fucking wall. But that wasn't the case. They're midway down the straightaway, and Hunter Ray's doing stupid shit. And I mean, there's a reason why he's not in a fucking full-time ride anymore.
Delta Alpha.
Yes. Thank you, Townsend Bell, for fucking internet gold.
Thank you, Discord, for a soundboard. We get all the use out of this thing.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That was funny. Over there. I'll get
Hey, at least this is the first time in 3 years that we didn't have a red flag in the last 10 laps of the fucking race.
As the way it should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was so waiting
the race
for.
in
I was.
the race in etiquette. I thought this year was actually better than past years. I think what we got to see was the idiots kind of weed themselves out with that 4-hour rain delay. But I mean, it was going to happen either way, regardless. I think it would have out even if the race started at 12:45.
Now, do we talk about the Wonder Asian?
Sato?
Kyle Larson?
Oh, that
Kyle
Asian.
Larson.
Yeah, the Wonder Boy.
Young
money.
He was what, top 10 most of the day?
Most of the day until he got caught speeding on pit road.
I kept getting his car confused with Scott Dixon's all day.
You're welcome.
Like, I was just like, oh, hey, that's like, no,
Hey.
that's.
All right, without actually looking this up, gentlemen, who finished higher, Kyle Larson or Stingray Rob?
Stingray Rob.
It was Stingray Rob, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Didn't Rasmussen finish higher than Kyle Larson?
Yeah, so let me get into that. Usually it's the highest finishing rookie is the one who's the rookie of the year. How the fuck did Kyle Larson take rookie of the year when he was the second highest finishing?
Always.
Yeah, I have to agree with Gary. I don't think that's always the case.
I would say that's been the case the last 20 years.
Hold, please.
Like that. Like I don't feel like that's. I feel like this year, for whatever reason, I think it's on Larson a little bit, but you know, I think this year, I guess they decided to vote on the whole body of work for the month. That's what.
Yeah, if they're going off the whole body of work for the month, I mean, Larson as a rookie making the Fast Six was absolutely insane. The work that he put in traffic during the practices, he had a handle of this car that I don't think we've seen out of a rookie coming to Indianapolis in quite a while. And the...
Oh my god, I can't spell today. Rookie of the Yeet.
Rookie of the Yeet? You're thinking WWE terms. We're not talking about yeet.
No yeet.
Get that no yeet shit out of here. You know you like to yeet.
Go ahead.
All right, hang on.
It looks like you got your stuff pulled up.
So all right, so in 2022, Jimmy Johnson was the highest finishing rookie, and he was Rookie of the Year.
Okay.
Let's
What about
see.
last year, 23? How many rookies? I don't even remember.
Yeah, Pedersen, and I think he was Rookie of the Year too. Hang on.
21.
Rookie of the Year, yeah, Benjamin Peterson was the Rookie of the Year. He was the highest finishing rookie.
Okay, 21.
21. Scott McLaughlin, and he finished third. No, he
Did
didn't.
he really finish third?
No, he didn't finish third. Hang on. Okay, so yeah, Pietro Fittipaldi was the highest finishing rookie that year. So how the fuck do they determine Rookie of the Year? If that's just dumb. It was always it's always been the it's always been the highest finishing rookie for as long as I've known. I mean, shit, here's Pato O'Ward winning it, and fucking year was this? This is 20. This is 20.
19.
Yeah. No, 20.
Oh, yeah, because 19 he called make the parlay.
Yeah, Pato O'Ward won it, and he was the third highest finishing rookie. So I don't know how the fuck they judge that shit, but fine. Okay, great. Kyle Larson, woo, Rookie of the Year, yay.
Well,
Get
we all
fucked.
know Rasmussen's scholarship money went to that Indy 500 ride.
Mm-hmm.
Quiet part out loud. Anyways, no, I don't know how they determine it. I would love to know. It's kind of like one of those things like on the Heisman too, and a few other things. How do you discover rookie player in college football?
This dude played half the games of the guy that should have won the award. How in the world?
Right, exactly. So I don't know. If you can find that out today, great. If not, we'll talk about it next time. But I just kind of rant about just the whole, like, personally, on a personal level. The race was great. The rain delay sucked. I should have stayed in my car. I should have just showed up at like 2 in the middle of the freaking downpour. That's what because we were all kind of cramped in close quarters underneath the South Vista grandstands, and everybody's kind of huddled together, so we're not getting into the freaking rain. I have this old guy here getting all pissed off at me because I keep bumping into him with my seat cushions. He's trying to raise a fight. It's like, bro, I'm not bumping into you on purpose. Like, get the fuck over it. Sit the fuck down. Like, I get it. He was an Army veteran for this country. Congratulations. You served in Nam. Awesome. Doesn't give you a right to be a jackass when we're all here in this same spot together.
Dude, if you fought
Trying
in
to stay
Nam,
out
you
of the
should be
rain.
used to dealing with rain and mud. Get out there.
Yep. Didn't want to say that out loud, but yes, you're correct. So I actually stormed off because everybody else is there. And my buddies were like, "Why'd you leave the circle?" I said, "Oh, because of this old fuck." And they're like, "Oh, okay. Well, we'll stand over on that side." And they kind of intimidated the fuck out of him, and he ended up leaving before the rain stopped anyways. So that guy can get fucked. Whoever you are. It wasn't intentional, but you wanted to make it a big deal, so here we are. And I will make it a big deal on my podcast. That's point number 1. Point number 2, traffic in and out of the speedway was god awful on Sunday. It was absolutely the worst experience that I've ever had. Getting to and from a racetrack. The drivers were atrocious. They were almost as bad as freaking Tom Bloomquist, turn 1, lap 1. It was that bad. Yeah, I don't recommend it. Next year, I'm thinking about buying a freaking shuttle pass for $50, parking my fat ass across the street from Lucas Oil Stadium and taking a school bus to the track next year. I'm at that point.
I mean, you could just stay home and watch it with us. One of us.
It has crossed my mind a couple of times. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, it was absolutely awful. Drivers were trying to like weave in and out of traffic, and we're all going to the freaking place. Why are y'all trying to change lanes? Like, we're all going to the same spot. Fill the fuck out. You get there eventually. That's how this works. God, and it caused an accident. That back traffic for even further back. I had to take a detour. They wouldn't let us through in the freaking detour until they cleared everybody out of the damn interstate. Okay, that's my entry. My exit rant, even freaking worse, people. I don't know what the hell the Indiana State Police has done the last 4 or 5 years to get people in and out of the freaking racetrack, but they have all these damn entrances, and they point everybody into one damn direction, like the fucking boy band. Like, you can only go right or left out of a place. They don't give you both directions anymore. I don't know what the hell they've been thinking the last 8 or 10 years, but it's awful. It is absolutely terrible. Like, I had a better shot at parking at the freaking Oakwoods house and leaving earlier than I did parking at the freaking lot 1C. I will never park at lot 1C again. I parked there the last 2 years. Absolutely awful. Hated my experience every time. This year, it was worse because of the rain delay. Apparently, the freaking racetrack decided not to have the state police past midnight, 10 o'clock or whatever the hell time it was. Freaking, you had state police troopers on their freaking lunch break at 10 o'clock for a freaking hour. Everybody's in their damn police car watching it rain, making sure nobody killed nobody. We sat still in traffic for an hour and a half, leaving the Indianapolis Motor Speedway parking lots. I moved 2 inches in 10 minutes. It was awful.
Sounds like my sex life.
Sounds like some of my coworkers.
But, and these
Sorry!
guys got to hear my rant a little bit on Discord Sunday night right after the wreck, or right after the race. But
Wreck.
it
Continue.
was absolutely awful. It was terrible. Like, you're only released one way, and you're only, like, nobody's letting anybody in. Everybody's just being a bunch of jackasses getting out of the damn parking lot. Nobody's giving anybody a chance, like, letting people in, let traffic go naturally. None of that. No, none of that shit. Throw that shit out the window. That's basically what happened. Pissed me off. Like, nobody looks out for anybody out on these damn roads. And freaking state police was just like, here you go, guys. Fend for yourselves for these next 45 minutes while I go take my lunch break. Like, or I think what really happened is they were off the clock. And I think old Grandpa Roger or Daddy Doug of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway made a call out to the Indiana State Police and said, "We don't care how much it costs. Get these people the fuck off our property." I think that's what.
Get off my lawn.
Hey, hold the Joe Hutchings.
They
Get off my lawn.
just need to
unless you
hire
got
Joe
Fernando with you.
with a shotgun and just continuously rack as people leave. It's like, you got 10 minutes. Get the fuck out of here.
Like, it was just.
Oh,
Like, I did not
premature.
have fun getting to the racetrack or leaving the racetrack. It was probably one of the worst experiences I've ever had. Like, I'm to the point where I'm just I'd rather.
Sounds like somebody needs to sell their sim.
Yeah. I mean, and don't even get me started about the fight in the grandstands with 30 to go, ruining the finish for the Indianapolis 500 for our group. All because somebody wouldn't do what, Joe? We
Listen.
talked about this. No, sit down. All because people were drunk and they wouldn't sit down. I'm sorry. The racing for the lead is getting very intense. Of course, half our section's going to freaking stand up. You going to tell them to sit down too? Like, if you're looking for a great experience watching the race without somebody in your view, you know what you should do? Here's what I'll tell you. Go about 2 hours north or 2 hours south of the racetrack and go watch the race on TV. That's what you should. With the exception of this year, because of the rain delay, you got to see it on TV. Blackout. But if you don't want somebody impeding your view, watch the race at home. I'm looking at you, drunk guy, wearing the Myers Shank shirt. Anyways, I need you to get that. I feel bad.
I look like Dr. Robotnik today, so that's not pointed at me. Great.
I wish we had opened with that.
We should have, but I like to save the best for last.
That was the hardest I've heard Gary laugh in a long time. This is Joe right now. Send him the link to the Google results for Dr. Robotnik.
Joe was asking a serious question too during our bike check. He was trying to be all serious, asking a question. Scott was asking a serious question. I checked his like, you saw my message. Yes, I did. He sends it to Joe, and Joe's like, you know what? I can be mad.
I can't.
Great.
It was fucking hilarious.
We just need you to grow out the mustache.
What the
It'd be like a
fucking
little-
lightning bolt fucking
like a little twirl or something.
No, it's lightning bolts. It's like
Oh,
really.
is it lightning bolts? Yeah.
Hide the Chaos Emeralds.
Fuck that.
But anyways, I didn't have anything else in regards to the racing this past weekend. NASCAR
I
needs
do-
to get their head out of their ass.
I do have an answer about the Rookie of the Year thing.
Let's hear it. Go ahead.
Okay, this is right from Wikipedia. So it says, according to regulations, drivers are evaluated on their ability to follow the regulations, mental attitude, willingness to listen to advice from experts, actions to improve the welfare and safety of other competitors, and their own performance in qualifying and the race. That was the early stuff, but they still follow it to this day. So that's still a tradition. So technically, Kyle Larson kind of fits in there. He would be Rookie of the Year. I mean, he was the highest qualifying rookie, and he made one mistake and finished down low. So yeah, I would. Either way, I would give it to him. All right.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you can't crucify him over a pit road mistake at the theoretical point of the race.
Mhm.
But things happen. Like, I mean, look at Scott Dixon. He's done that a time or two.
Why?
Right in front of us. We got
Fuck.
to watch it happen live.
Fuck off. Fuck off.
So I don't know if y'all heard, but Newgarden has also mentioned this in his fanfare this week of all the interviews for Newgarden.
Shit.
He has said that one, he hopes Kyle Larson comes back to do the double next year, and that rain doesn't affect anything. Number two, he said that he would love to do the Coke 600 double eventually. He drives for Penske. Penske can easily field an uncharted car and make that happen. They have plenty of sponsorship. Just put a big old shell logo on the car for the freaking race that are PPG paints. Somebody will pick up that tab. Easily.
P40. P40.
I mean,
P40 out of 36 cars. Yes! Gary and I on the same page again.
P43. Doesn't qualify. Wrecked on the straightaway by Dale Earnhardt's Ghost.
Why was I thinking that you were going to say the name?
I sure hope Dale's okay.
No. He knows who I'm talking about.
Who?
You know who.
He who shall not be named is Mike Robinson.
Yeah, wrecked on a straightaway. Anyways.
It's like Voldemort. Who cares? He's gonna come back anyways.
All right. A little bit off the rails here. I think we've been recording for what, an hour and a half?
No.
Hours?
No.
30 minutes.
No. Hour and 15 minutes.
Oh, okay. I was close. So, but yeah. So that's really all we have for the show today. Any final thoughts from me? bozos.
Yeah,
Oh,
Honda needs to make a better fucking engine. Willpower needs to learn how to finish a race. Scott Dixon needs to stop doing Scott Dixon things. And Kyle Larson eats corn sideways.
Isn't that how you're supposed to eat it?
That's the joke!
We told you eating it the long way ain't the right way, Joe. We've been
I-
telling you for a while.
I told you! That's the... Oh my god, that's the fucking joke!
Oh my goodness. You got anything for us, Scott?
titty sprinkles.
Yes, titty sprinkles. God damn it. NASCAR, get your head out of the ass. IndyCar, kinda keep doing what you're doing, but stop looking into a charter system. That's what broke NASCAR. Don't break yourselves. You've got the
Market
fastest.
like you
You've
do
got
for
the
the 500 for every race.
you've got the fastest growing market in American motorsports right now. Don't do anything to fuck it up. And NASCAR, stop letting the broadcast dictate when you call the race. I'm surprised that didn't come up in conversation, but if anyone was wondering why they didn't have the winner interview like right off the bat, it was because the race wasn't called yet until Fox decided to say, yeah, we're going to say the race is over.
Mike Joy needed to go to bed.
Yeah, Clint Boyer was already breaking into people's coolers in the infield.
Yes. Yes.
I
Well,
say that with love. I would love to drink with that man. I bet it'd be
Right.
hilarious.
right. Well, if that's everything, before we go completely off the rails, thank you guys for joining me in rants here this week. All four of you that listen to the podcast every single week. That said, five. It is 5. Self talk.
Joe's one of
chill.
the 0.05% of people that like to hear their own voice.
Psychopaths usually will do that.
Well, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching and listening. We'll see you next time. Maybe if AJ will allow us, kind of down off deep. No, I'm just kidding.
I haven't told anybody to suck start a 12 gauge yet.
You know what?
Hey,
Make a
not
very
everybody
perfect
can
day.
get into the Kurt Cobain School of Interior Decorating, okay?
We're done. We're done. Kyle Larson eats corn the long way, and we'll see y'all next time.
Bye!